Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the SportsTech All Stars podcast. This is the last episode, I believe, in our series focused on the Indian sports tech ecosystem. And a great way to end it was with a founder and CEO, was with the founder and CEO of Stupa Sports Analytics, Megha Gambhir. Megha has been building in the sports tech space since 2018 or so. Stupa started in table tennis doing performance analytics, but like tracking of data leading to computer vision and AI, but has since evolved into a much richer solution providing end-to-end services for leagues, federations, etc. in the sports ecosystem. They have a number of leading European federations that they work with, and now expanding to other sports beyond table tennis as well. Fascinating conversation with Megha. We get into her perspective on, of course, the growth story of Stupa, how she built a sports tech company that recently raised a nice big round of funding from a local Indian, from an Indian sports tech VC. She gets into her personal journey about how it is founding a startup with her husband, who's a former professional athlete who's represented India and coached India in table tennis, and also that journey of how she's seen the evolution of sports tech in India. It's such a fascinating topic and market that we keep a close eye on. Great conversation with Megha. Hope you enjoyed. There we go.
This is the Sports Tech All Stars podcast, showcasing outstanding startups and initiatives in the global sports tech ecosystem. From SportsTech X, the leading source for data and insights about sports tech, here is your host, Rohan Malhotra.
All right, Megha. So let's start from the beginning. I want to know about the origin story, how you found yourself to be a founder. I know you have some background in consulting and a little bit of tech from before, but then you're a startup founder. How did you get there?
So actually, the Stupa actually was founded in 2020, but I come from a technology background. I spent 15 years in tech, in different companies, initially service company, product companies like Amex and PepsiCo, and then later part of my career, I was in consulting, working with EY on some projects like World Bank and United Nations. The thing is that my connection to sports is very, very deep because of my husband. And since the days we have met in college, I've been watching him playing table tennis. He was a professional athlete and was playing professionally for India as well at that point in time. And later part of his career, he was also running, quite many academies within the Delhi NCR region. And then later part of his career, he was also the coach for the Indian national team for a couple of years, which was around 2017, 16, and maybe 18. And at the same time, fortunately, I would say that 2017, 18 is a time when I was thinking of taking a break from my corporate career, because I was thinking that it is not giving me enough kick and I need to figure out what I want to do next in my life. And 2018 was the year when I decided to quit my job and do nothing for a while, and just probably go around, travel. I did trekking, I did solo traveling and so on. And I was just figuring out what I want in my life, because job is something I was not very feeling good about. And I don't know what was missing in my life, but there was something which was missing in my life at that point in time. And that time when I was on a break, Deepak, on the other hand, because he was also coaching the Indian national team and was traveling with the team, he was struggling with the problem statement already, where he was not able to give objective information to the players when they are playing. And this was constantly happening when he was coaching to them in India, as well as when he was traveling with them abroad on the international events. He also felt that um, it's a lot of overwhelming information for a coach as well to gather everything from a single match and then talk about it. And it's also always related to what perception players are having towards that particular game or a match, and the coach is having. So it is never an objective information, and it's always a subjective kind of a feedback. And that's how he started looking at the solutions which can help him in solving this problem, which is providing performance analysis. And that's how, he came up with an idea to me and was trying to pitch me that, can you help me with this, and so on. And during that time, because I was free, so I thought that, okay, I'll pick it up, and I'll just help him for doing it for the Indian team and so on. I didn't think about it that this would be my next 10 years or 15 years kind of a career that I'm getting into. And yeah, so that was a time when I picked up this problem, started to work. And as I went deep, I realized that, oh my god, I mean, it's a complete white space out there, and there is no one who's doing these things, and there is a scarcity of this kind of solutions, whereas there is no tech. And by that time, I think I would say we have already been seeing a lot of surge in education tech, finance tech, and so on. And I think COVID also helped a little, because post COVID, everyone started to realize the digitization aspect, and that's where I figured that this could be the next big move, just not for the Indian market, but also at the global level. And that's how we founded Stupa in 2020.
Lots to take away from that little bit. Two things that I especially took away. Number one, the importance of doing nothing. It's a very highly
Yeah.
underrated, let's say, way to use your time, just to allow your mind to breathe, allow your body to take a pause, and then you'll find the path comes to you. And then the second part is the understanding of the problem from within, and that's how you really truly understand the problem. As you mentioned, that Deepak had a problem, and then he came to you, and you kind of worked on a solution together, and that solution is Stupa Sports Analytics. So now, perfect segue. Tell me, what exactly is the problem that you solve? You alluded to it already, but more importantly, how do you solve it?
So I'll cover this as a story itself, because when we started.
Oh, we love a story. Please
Yeah, so we,
go for
we
it.
we started to fix a problem which Deepak was facing at that time, that how to analyze a player performance. And that's how, we started to use AI at that point in time to figure out how we can do video analysis, we can track players, we can track the ball, we can track the entire court and the table, and then the video inputs can processed by AI, and then AI can provide the real time analysis of the game, which can then be used by the coaches or by the players and so on. But what we are doing now is fairly different than what we started with, and that's also like I was saying that, I'll cover his other story, because 2 years when we I mean 2 years into the business, when we were working on this product, we launched it after, one and a half one after 1 year of founding the company. And we realized that we are quite dried up with the revenues, because it's quite a niche segment which we have picked up. So in the entire sports ecosystem, performance analysis is one of the smallest pie, I would say, because there are competitive players out of the entire ecosystem, which are very less. So you have the bigger ecosystem with the fans, and then you have, amateur and recreational kind of a players, and then you have advanced and sort of an intermediate players, and then you have competitive one. So we were focusing more on the competitive one, which reduced our TAM significantly. And that's where we started to think about our business model and so on, that this will not be like a sustainable business model for future. Second thing, we also realized that we are talking about performance analysis, which is like an additional data point for the players to understand their performance. But before that itself, have we ever thought that are the players and the coaches are given with enough information about what they have been playing, and the basic information about their whereabouts on the rankings and so on? And the answer was no. So currently, most of the federations, most of the leagues, don't even digitize, or don't you even use any platform to do that. They use Excel for maintaining their memberships, tournament execution, and so on. And then even if they use any platform, then they are using different platforms to manage their tournaments, to manage their streamings. Then there is an issue of synchronization of data in between them, which literally lead them to be in a situation where they cannot actually manage the data and also monetize it. And for any federation or any sport, it's really, really important that that a sport should be commercialized to a level so that the money can get back to the sport and it can be reinvested into the development. That's the point which we have figured out, that there's a gap out in the market. While we are trying to solve a problem of the players, but there is a problem before that itself, where players are just not having enough information about the events, tournaments they have been playing, they've been participating, the ranking curve they have been following, their trends and patterns, and so on. So that's where was something, sort of a shift we have made in our business model. We started to pivot and we started to focus on a different product altogether, which is now what we do. And we have, sort of lived our product market fit journey, wherein we have realized that what exactly works in the market is that you help the federations in doing end-to-end tournament management, live streaming management, OTT management, and so on. And once you do that, you're basically creating, the end-to-end data management, media management, and so on, and then helping them to also monetize and give a very creative and a good experience to their community of players, fans, and so on. With them, with that experience, the players, fans, and coaches, they can monetize as well. So that's what we do now. Alongside, we have one more product which is by the name Stupa Cast, where we also help the sport to grow through fan engagement. So we provide TV broadcasters the real time insights, stats, and so on, that can help them to visualize the game better. Something like what Hawkeye does to cricket, we do very similar to racket sports, wherein the international broadcasters can use that and create better stories and narratives around what's happening in real time.
All right, fantastic. Megha, that's a lot of depth that you've provided, but I think that context and depth is important because it gives us a picture that you started in one area or one part of the problem, but you understood rather that the problem is bigger than what you initially identified. And now, from the sounds of it, you provide like an end-to-end solution to, let's say, your clients, the leagues, federations, everybody that you work with. So let's talk about that for a second. Where did you start? I know you have a bunch of success stories that you could share, but maybe I know you've started from table tennis, as you mentioned, and you've gone on to other sports. So maybe talk to us about a couple of clients, a couple of success stories where you've implemented Stupa in the way that you just described.
So a couple of our first successes was actually quite big ones. So we signed up deals with World Table Tennis on the media side, where we help them on the highlights, and also alongside we have signed for the end-to-end tournament management piece with Sweden. And Sweden is one of the leading federation within table tennis segment in Europe, because they've sort of had a legacy of being the top performers within Europe, Germany and Sweden, and it was, I would say that you always need the first adopters whenever you are getting out into the market, and that's something I could figure out very easily, because it wasn't easy to get hook off the first client, and taking such a big leap of faith to change the entire sort of digitization strategy for a particular federation. But how it started was that I started to go out into the table tennis events and so on, and I met the general secretary of Sweden, which I realized that he's very, very visionary kind of a person who is having a vision to bring a digital strategy in place. And the problem they were facing at that point in time is that they were using a tournament software which was way too old, as in like it would have been made probably in 1990s or 1995 or something, quite old platform. And then they were using a different streaming platform as well, and then they were using a different membership platform. So they were struggling with a lot of data, sort of disintegration, and they were looking out for some sort of a solution where they can integrate all of these things together. And I think I just quickly figured out that Sweden could be our first sort of a client. And I just focused my entire energy there. I spoke to the general secretary a couple of times. I met him. And then we successfully closed the contract, we implemented. And followed by Sweden itself, I've seen a lot of European Federation then followed the same. Then we signed up Spain, Portugal's Slovenia, Norway, and even the European Continental Federation as well. So I think it's really
All in table tennis right now, right? All these you're
initially
describing is all
yes.
table tennis.
Initially yes. Last year was all
Yeah.
table tennis successes, I would say, but this year we have already started to get into paddle, badminton, pickleball, tennis, and so on. And we are talking to quite many good federations that I mean, in a sense that who are quite elite ones, and I'm hoping to close some of them quite soon.
All right, fantastic, Megha. Thank you so much for all that context. Now, I want to bring this home a bit and talk about India and the sports tech ecosystem there. We've obviously seen that you've recently raised a funding round from a major, arguably the only significant sports tech dedicated fund in India. I want to get your thoughts on how you've seen the evolution of this topic of this industry around technology in India, certainly in the 4 or 5 years that you've been in business, and where it is now. Are you confident that this is a good moment, or you still think that there is a long way to go and we still have a lot to catch up to?
I think, see, I'll tell you from where we started. When we started at that point in time, I felt that we were quite early with the kind of tech we had at that time. And that's the reason we were also, looking out to pivot as well. Especially for the Indian ecosystem, I felt that we were fairly early because even if the product what we launched, we were working a lot with the global market than the Indian market at that point in time. So there was a lot of acceptance there. And even after when we pivoted into a different business model and a different product altogether, to help the federations to grow the sport and the entire ecosystem, then also within, I would say around 2022, I felt more acceptance in the global market than the Indian market. But I think the scenario, especially in last 2 years, I would say have shifted a lot. Given that I think the wave where a lot many people now, the parents are choosing sports as a career, given that we have lot many idols coming up from the recent Olympics and so on. Alongside, I also would appreciate the government, who have been constantly making efforts on bringing lot many events like Hello India programs and other programs, and the sentiments which they have shown towards um, having a Olympic sort of in India, which could be 2036, or Youth Olympics, which could be 2030. So I think there is a wave which is there in India at the moment, which is really talking a lot about sports. Alongside, I also see a sudden surge of lot many private players coming into the sports sector, who are focusing either on the corporate events or on the amateur play or on the schools and university games and so on. So with that thing, I think in last 2 years, when we started the company 4 years ago, that wasn't there. I would say that at that point in time, we felt that we were fairly early, but now is the time I feel that we are bang on the right time. And I think it's good that we started 4 years ago because we're done and
Yeah.
dusted with our mistakes, error, product market fit, and everything. And now we know what exactly is needed in the market, and that's where this is the time. I think this for the next 10 years is the time for India to grow more and become very big market in sports as well. The way we have seen startups growing and becoming unicorns in education tech and fintech and so on, I think sports would be the next big sector, given that there is a lot of I would say sentiments as well, which is there for a lot many people in India with the Olympics and with the sports and so on. Alongside, it is just not cricket now. I think recently I've heard, I was, going by some of the stats as well, where I figured that badminton is the most played sport in India than cricket. So cricket is, of course, the most,
Really? I
but
didn't know
badminton has
that.
become the sport where there's most of the participation or the playing is happened because a lot of amateurs,
Interesting.
are using sports as a fitness tool. So sports have become a synonym to the fitness, and that's how I think from here on, anything. If I talk about recreational or a sports or a recreational or a amateur market, if I talk about the federation ecosystem or a state associations, or if I talk about players awareness and fan engagement and so on, I think there is a lot of opportunities available out there in the market. And people like who are like Center Court Capital and Dream 11 who have launched their funds as well to support the startups who are coming forth with sports tech. Also, I mean, shows that there is definitely a market which is growing and which has a lot of potential, just not from the business side as well. And I feel that it is also from the demand side as well. So yeah, so that's my take on the Indian market.
And one that I'd fully endorse and support. It's the reason that we are talking about this and talking to you right now and trying to put the spotlight on the Indian sports tech ecosystem for our global audience. Everybody I've spoken to on this series has echoed that sentiment as well. So I'm glad that this is, let's say, this groundswell. There's a cultural change, societal. This is what parents are looking at sports more. The government is providing some support, either through initiatives or through access to capital. And as you said, private players entering the market, which allows companies such as yourself to really build world-class solutions, which we know we're capable of doing. Fantastic. Megha, I have one personal question to ask you, if you'll indulge me. And this is something that certainly maybe a European or an American audience is not so used to, which is the very commonly found situation in India, which is a household startup. Yeah, there's a husband-wife combo which is killing it, and we see this across sectors. And but it's super unique, and I want to get your thoughts on that because you don't see this in too many other places in the world, certainly not in the West. Why do you think that that is so common in India, and why do so many of these companies find such success?
I think this is a little tricky question. I think what I have, understood in my journey, because I would say that even
Sure.
founding a startup with the life partner is not the easiest thing as well, because it comes with, I mean, the journey is quite
Yeah.
different. And it comes with a lot of learnings at both sides, as co-founders and as life partners as well, that how you have to have a thin line between all these, personal and professional matters, and who is having the final say on what topics at home and even at business then. So there is a lot of
Sure.
balance you need to create in between both the co-founders when they are husband-wife duo. But I feel that it's just not the husband-wife thing. I think overall, the startup itself, the ecosystem within India, is growing at a much faster pace than any other around the world. I think maybe a decade back, we all would call Silicon Valley as the hub for the startups, and I think the next big thing is the Indian startup ecosystem, which is coming at a very big stage, wherein the US itself or the folks outside from the global segment are looking to invest in the Indian startup ecosystem because they feel that that's the growth out there. And I think where you have a mass sort of a things coming out into that particular market, which could be startups, you will definitely find different kind of duos coming in, especially on the husband wife thing. I think I would say that maybe because in the recent last 5 years we have seen a lot of husband wife duos also making successful companies. I feel that this also gives a lot of maybe courage to a lot of husband wife to start up and so on. But there is one thing to it that you both can't take risk in your life. I mean, at a given point in time, which is the most difficult part of a husband wife duo, which you have to overcome. And when you both take risks together, I feel that you have no backup. And usually, when you have no backup, you actually bang on, and because you just have one option, you just have one option, which is to be successful. So I think that could be the inherent reason, because when you both are working toward a goal and you do not have backup at all, then the only option you have is to make it work, and that's how you make it work. Whereas vis-a-vis, I mean, if you have like a different co-founders set up, of course the other partner of the founders are of course working, and you still have some backup, you still have things to work on. So that could be, I mean, one of the thing which I feel, because I have realized that when you are taking a risk, it has to be with 100% confidence, and it should be with 100% risk as well. If you really have 0.1% or a 1% doubt or a backup, I think you're likely to fall back subconsciously into that plan B. And that is what I think the husband wife duo cannot enter into, because they're both into this. So that's my take on it.
Super interesting. First of all, again, for the international listener, let's say non-Indian listener, Indians like to do business in the family. No, we like to keep it there. This is a very typical thing. But this husband-wife duo, which we've seen across, as you rightly said, in the startup ecosystem for the last maybe 7, 8, 10 years, perhaps. And there are successful role models that couples can look at and say, "Hey, we can try that." But yeah, I was just curious to hear from your perspective. Of course, because for me, I've had a few co-founders, never with my actual romantic partner, but that relationship has enough ups and downs on its own. So to add the romance into it, I was curious about. And I should also mention that my own parents were business partners, not startups back in the day. They had a very traditional store and stuff, and I saw the ups
Yeah.
and downs and the challenges that they faced as a young kid. So curious to get somebody's perspective when I have the opportunity to ask. Thank you for that. Megha, to bring us home, walk us through what the next 12, 18 months looks like for Stupa.
I think next 12, 18 months, we've recently raised the funding, and the funding was for the purpose of growth and expansion and building a very strong, foundation, which is our tech, but to add more sort of talent and, high quality talent into the team. So we have raised the funding for that reason. So while one part of the team, which is, I would say, majorly led by Deepak, product and tech and so on, while that part is being taken care by him to strengthen our foundation, which is the product. Because if the product is right, and if things are right from that perspective, we know that we can never stop any customer to be buying our product and so on. So while he's working on strengthening the product and the tech, I'm focusing more on the expansion and setting up the team. We already had uh, sort of sales coming out from the Europe, but we really want to go deeper into the Europe as well as expand in the US market. So that's one of the area which we want to focus in 12 to 18 months. Alongside, the other focus is to grow into variety of sports. We, like I said, that we started with TT, but we literally we are getting opportunities from all the corners of the world at the moment and around different sports. But we are still trying to be, keeping ourselves very focused on the racket sports, or some of the other sports which are very very similar with the racket sports, which has like a flat court and have ball around it. Could be volleyball or basketball as well. So some of the sports expansion is another strategy for us. The third main important part where we would like to focus, our product is purely B2B focused market, I mean, where we are actually giving this product to the federations or to the leagues or to the clubs. The next 12 to 18 months would be that we will also start to focus on the B2C, which is basically the federations and clubs and the leagues. Their community is players, fans, and coaches, So we really want to serve them with right amount of data, right information, and a very much curated information, which they can actually feel that this platform is adding a lot of value to them. And that's where our core focus will be, that we can focus this year on B2B, and from there on we grow the B2B2C market, where we add a lot of value to the direct end consumers, which are players, coaches, fans, and so on, through the platform and through AI, real time stats and graphics and so on. So that's about how our 12 to 18 months look like. And just one more thing, that
Yeah,
because you've mentioned
sure.
about the Indian market, the core focus for this year is also to expand in the Indian market, because that falls literally aligned with how the Indian market is growing. So the core focus also will be to grow in the Indian market.
So hiring, building a better product, going into new sports, addressing an entire new customer target segment, going from B2B to B2C. Yeah, sounds like you'll be busy. And as always, on the road, and all this you'll be doing from flights, logging onto airline Wi-Fi and all that nonsense. So best of luck, Megha. I know you'll be in for a fun ride. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and to share your story with our audience. If there's a call to action, something that you're looking out for, I guess all of the above that I just described, what is the best place that somebody can reach you, on email or LinkedIn?
I think LinkedIn is the best one, because I'm fairly, approachable on LinkedIn, I can quickly reply. Otherwise, email is the next one thing, but I think LinkedIn is,
LinkedIn is
yeah.
fine. Yeah, LinkedIn is fine. We'll drop your profile in the show notes. Fantastic. Megha, last question before I let you go. And I know you actually have a flight to catch. It's the question I always want to end on, or like to end on. What has been your favorite sporting moment?
Oh my God, my favorite sporting moment.
Yeah, could be as a fan, could be as an athlete. Doesn't have to be about your husband, by the way. You could pick any
No, it
moment you
has to be
want.
as a fan, of course, but I think there are many actually. But the best one, maybe I would describe as a mother, because I am, of course, a mother of a 9-year-old daughter, and my girl, actually, her name is Anaya. She plays table tennis like her father. She wants to become a world champion, so she's already started preparing.
Wow.
And recently, I think she's just started to play state tournaments and so on. And I recently went to her tournament, and I don't know, I just felt in a day itself different emotions. Morning she won the match, she was super excited, and then afternoon she lost two matches. She were at a different wavelength. So I just felt that sport literally teaches you how to handle
Yeah.
failures and how to handle your losses and still be happy, and then still be focused on how you can improvise and never give up. The moment when we were coming back from that tournament, she cried, of course, but then she also did mention what has gone wrong, and next time, because her next date is in the month of July. So she's getting up and she's preparing for it. I think this continuous exercise within sports itself teaches a lot, and that is what I mean. There are many more moments, as a fan as well, I can tell, but I think this recent one uh, sort of shook me a little, because I felt that at an age of 9, she's, I mean, sort of
Wow.
able to handle emotions.
Dealing with so much.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
felt that it's a really good way of teaching kids. I mean, I think everyone should be having their kids played at a professional level, because that teaches you a lot to handle. So that's my.
At a competitive level, yeah. I mean, yeah, they're probably not going to be pros at 9, but yeah, but a decent competitive level where they're playing tournaments, where they're actively engaging, win, lose. Like there is actually something to that
Maybe
result.
you were
Yeah, I think
expecting
that's
a
super
different
powerful.
kind of a moment for me to explain, but I think I just connect to that moment a lot that day. I mean, I felt that, oh my God.
May I actually have one of the reasons that I love asking this question is because I have no expectations, because I get all sorts of answers. You're the first, and I have had people answer it as a parent before, but usually it's been like, I went and watched this game with my son or my daughter, but for you to actually speak about it as a mom and to see your child go through the emotions of winning and losing all in a day. It's fantastic. And that's why we love sport. And that's why we choose to work in this industry. Megha, once again, it has been an absolute pleasure. Look forward to hearing more about all the great stuff that you get up
Thank
to
you
at
so
Stupa.
much for having me. I really enjoyed talking.
I think that's going to be a wrap. I think that's the end of our series focusing on all the greatest, all the coolest companies in the Indian sports tech ecosystem. Like Megha said, like my previous guests have said, there is a lot happening in India, and this is the moment that a lot is happening. We've spent the same as she did, and I have the last 4 or 5 years kind of building our own voice and our own understanding of the sports ecosystem globally. And now India is a place which will drive a lot of growth that sports will see over the next 10, 15 years. It's one that we'll be watching closely. Next up, we will be actually watching another space very closely, which is also driving the future of sports broadcast innovation. Our next whole month will be focused on that interesting aspect of sports technology. See you then. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Tech All Stars podcast with Rohan Malhotra. If you like our show, let us know and leave a review. And if you want to know more about us, check out sportstechx.com, where you can find our latest industry reports and updates. For a deeper dive into all things sports tech, check out our comprehensive database, SportsTechDB, at sportstechdb.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can find us at SportsTechX on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Join us next time for another insightful conversation with a leader in sports tech.